They say a hero is only as good as the villain. And let's be honest, sometimes the villain is the only reason we even buy the book. We love them, we fear them, we even secretly root for them sometimes. Though villainy is an ill-defined word, in a comic book universe like in real life, it's not just one thing. Villainy is a spectrum. On one end, you have a guy stealing cash to pay rent, and on the other end, well, a living mathematical equation that just wants to eat your soul. If we treat them all the same, we miss the whole point of the story. I'm Kai the Comic Guy, and today, we're going to discover the hierarchy of villainy. We're going to start with the level 1 villains, the immorals. The lowest tier belongs to antagonists whose actions are decoupled from evil entirely. What that actually means, guys, is they lack a guilty mind. They oppose heroes, but they don't choose evil. Galactus has the highest body count in Marvel history. Countless civilizations wiped out across billions of years. Yet, essentially isn't considered evil. Why? Because his planet consumption is metabolic. He eats it to survive. Same as you and me eating lunch. You don't hate a sandwich? And guess what? Galactus doesn't hate the scrolls. Just kidding. Galactus's consumption has cosmic function. In the Earth X trilogy, recent canon, it's established that he consumes planets that are incubating celestials, preventing overpopulation that will destroy the universe. His death unleashes Abrax, a force far worse than anything he ever did. So he's there to maintain balance. Another example we could look at is the Lizard, or specifically Dr. Kurt Connors. He isn't choosing monstrosity. When Lizard takes over, his mammalian empathy gets chemically suppressed in a sense by the overall reptilian brain. He's a true tragedy. The man needs a cure. He's not a criminal to punish. When we look at this category of villainy, it isn't as simple as good versus evil. It's more of a man versus nature, and how these antagonists deal with that. Level 2 villainy. Professionals. Tier 2 features characters whose full moral agency is to choose crime as a job. What defines them isn't their crimes, it's more of their codes. Captain Cold enforces strict bylaws on the rogues. No killing women, no killing children. Also, only kill speedsters when necessary. He has actually executed fellow villains for breaking these rules, specifically Chill Blaine for murdering his sister. There's the famous moment where the Flash and the Trickster are just drinking sodas at the bar, and you realize that doesn't typically happen with the Joker and Batman. The characters in this tier typically punch in and out of villainy, like it's their time cards. He wants a payday, not necessarily world domination. Deadshot fits this mold as well. Floyd Lawton kills for money all day, but there's no kill rule around his daughter Zoe. He could be a monster on the field, but that one relationship keeps him from sliding into the deeper tiers. Deathstroke presents a darker version. Slade Wilson operates on the contractual morality, but his code can be hypocritical at times. He's manipulated his daughter Rose into insanity. The Judas contract, seducing the underage Terra to infiltrate the Teen Titans, remains one of DC's most heinous acts. But even Slade draws the line. He stays bought. The villains in this tier try to compartmentalize morality, like a storage box. When they're at home, they park it in the garage. They're monsters 99% of the time, or when clocked in, but they try to maintain some slivers of humanity. Level 3, ideological. As we approach dangerous territory, tier 3 villains are driven by a noble cause, sometimes corruptions, along with other things. They are the heroes of their own story. Dr. Doom's motivation isn't just chaos or wealth, it's order. He believes with a messiah-like narcissism that he can only save humanity. And guys, this is what's terrifying, he's right sometimes. In Doom War, the Panther God examined millions of futures and confirms that the only timeline where humanity survives is one where Doom rules. This to some degree can support his motivations. If you guys think I'm hyping Dr. Doom up too much, look at the 2015 Secret Wars event. This is ultimate proof of tier 3 villainy. The multiverse actually died. The Beyonders destroyed everything, every Avenger, every X-Men failed. Everything was gone. And who saved existence? Victor Von Doom. He seized omnipotent power and fused the fragments of destroyed realities together, and held the universe through sheer force of will for 8 years. He became the God Emperor Doom. Was he a tyrant? Yes. Did he demand worship? Absolutely. But he accomplished what Reed Richards couldn't. He kept the lights on, till he didn't. And there is a chilling moment where he actually admits to Reed Richards that he did think that he could actually do a better job. He chooses to be a villain because he genuinely believes no one else is strong enough to make the hard calls. Let's look at another example. Omni-Man. For those reading the Invincible comics or watching the show, Omni-Man is a perfect example of characters that fall into this tier. Nolan Grayson isn't killing for pleasure or for profit. He's executing a mission he genuinely believes is righteous. The Viltrumite philosophy is essentially social Darwinism taken to a cosmic scale. Weak species expect to get conquered. Strong species have a duty to rule. When Nolan slaughters the Guardians of the Globe, it's not sadism, it's efficiency in order to complete his mission. But early on in the comics, Omni-Man believes exterminating Earth's heroes is the morally correct action for a greater Viltrumite good. But here's what proves that he's in this tier and not deeper. He can be redeemed. When Mark breaks through emotionally, when Nolan questions the Viltrumite ideology, he changes. That confession, what will you do after 500 years? He's not being cruel. He's terrified his son will experience the same loneliness he is suppressing. Monsters don't fear loneliness. The characters in this tier do. Magneto fits here too. A Holocaust survivor, certain humanity will destroy what it fears. His war is preemptive defense against another genocide. When looking into this tier, the one thing we have to consider is the scariest villains don't want to destroy the world. They just want to fix it. Level 4 villainy, the compulsive. Characters in this tier have evil as a symptom of pathology. They're scratching a psychological itch and they can never really reach. The Riddler can't commit a crime without leaving a clue. This is a psychological necessity stemming from his childhood abuse where his father beat him for cheating at puzzles. He builds death traps not to kill, but to test. Those who fail aren't people to him. They're NPCs, and stupidity is a capital offense. Two-Face represents collapsed moral agency. The coin flip lets Harvey Dent escape the burden of choice. Dent often knows what he's doing is wrong, and there's a good aspect of Harvey that's trapped inside that watches all these horrors unfold. His evil isn't philosophical, it's a coping mechanism. A modern example worth mentioning is Muse from Daredevil. This inhuman artist creates murals using the blood of hundreds of victims. He doesn't see people as humans. They're just supplies, like paint or his art. That level of depersonalization is chilling because there's no anger to it. He destroys life to create beauty, and this twisted compulsion almost bridges him from this category into the next. Level 5 of villainy, the sadistic. The villains in this tier can be psychopathic murderers. They kill not for profit or ideology, for pleasure and excitement. Joker is the apex predator here, guys. While often dismissed as insane, Grant Morrison's super sanity theory suggests that he's hyper-aware, reinventing himself daily to cope with the chaos of the modern world. In A Killing Joke, he shoots Barbara Gordon and photographs her suffering purely to prove one bad day can break anyone. In Death of a Family, he beats Jason Todd with a crowbar, while the boy pleads and then blows him up. We need to make a distinction here, guys, because people often consider Joker and Carnage to be the same, but they're chemically different. Joker, he's performative. He has an audience, and the one that keeps his heart beating is Batman. Sorry, Harley. If Batman died, the Joker will likely become a normal person. Or go catatonic, which actually happens in the Dark Knight Returns timeline. His evil is a twisted love letter to the Order. He needs to structure a Batman to define his chaos. Well, Carnage is a total absence of structure. In Maximum Carnage, Spider-Man realizes Cletus Cassidy isn't trying to prove a point, isn't trying to break a hero's moral code. He just likes the way blood looks on a pavement. Think of it this way. The Joker is evil because he wants to tell a joke. Carnage is evil, well, because he's bored on a Sunday. And that boredom makes him infinitely more dangerous to the average civilian. Speaking of bored predators, if you read Mark Millar's Nemesis, you've met the purists of the tier 5 villains in modern comics. Nemesis is essentially what if Batman was the Joker. And that's not just marketing. It's a precise psychological profile. He's a billionaire who's become a supervillain purely out of boredom. No ideology, no trauma demanding revenge, no code. Unlike the Joker, he doesn't have an audience fixation. He picks targets almost randomly, destroys their lives completely, and then he just moves on. He orchestrates elaborate torments, rigging a cop's daughter to miscarry, forcing a police chief to choose between his children, purely just to see what happens. Unlike the Joker, the Carnage comparison actually works better for Nemesis than Joker. Both? Well, they're bored predators, who kill because existence without cruelty feels pretty empty. The only difference is the budget. Nemesis is a serial killer with $1 billion and peak human training. What defines this tier? Well, the villains in this category can't be rehabilitated, because evil is their identity. The final tier transcends human psychopathy. These entities embody the opposite of life and freedom. They're ontological evil, evil woven into reality itself. Darkseid isn't a warlord, he's a concept. His goal? Well, it's the anti-life equation. Mathematical proof that free will is a lie. Let's look at it. Grant Morrison actually wrote it out in Final Crisis. Here it is. As you look at this equation, you could see Darkseid's perspective of life and freedom. You realize the Darkseid individuality is a mathematical error, that the only way to stop pain in existence is to subjugate yourself to his will. In the Infinite Frontier era, Darkseid has evolved into his true form, merging his avatars across the multiverse. He becomes a singularity. To beat Darkseid, someone must become like Darkseid, and that's the trap. Kid Miracle Man represents the most terrifying deconstruction of this. Johnny Bates, a boy in an invulnerable god's body. In Miracle Man 15 decides to destroy London. What does Johnny do? Well, he impales heads, lays out skins on clothing lines, decides to just fuse some bodies into the concrete. It's the tantrum of a godlike child who realized that ants can't stop a boot. There's no ideology here, just absolute power in immature hands. Level 6 villains aren't those you simply fight, it's a villain you survive. So when we define villainy and its hierarchy, what have we learned? Classifying comic book villainy forces us to confront power itself. When someone can snap their fingers and erase half the universe, evil isn't about breaking laws, it's about how one uses omnipotence. Now, before you head into the comments, I left out the last tier, number 7, the Reverse Flash, the petty hater energy. That's a video for another day. I want to turn this over to you and pin it in the comment below. Where does Thanos fall? Is he tier 3 because he wants balance? Or is he tier 5 because he enjoys the snap? Debate me down in the comments. I'll enjoy the conversation. Alrighty guys, if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like and subscribe. And check out my latest video where I actually ranked anti-heroes and anti-villains. Keep your feet on the ground and your eyes on the stars. Excelsior, my fellow nerds. Kai out.